Grove. It is a very good company. They've done a lot of good stuff. And I actually don't mind the model where they're now buying and selling homes. Not my favorite, but it does give them some growth. Can we take one more? Can we go to Larry in New York? Larry!
Hi, Jim. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course, Larry.
I'm a devoted listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I'm a long-time holder of NCR.
Well, then you're kind of suffering there. But it's making a comeback. You know, I finally went out to see him many years ago when they were out on the island, and I thought there was a lot of value there. It's taken a long time, but the value is actually being realized. So I'm going to go with...
I need some more gas.
Larry's got 4-6. And that, ladies and
This still wasn't too bad out of the bunker, I guess.
The Lightning Round is sponsored by TD Ameritrade. Coming up, how should home gamers play the Great Reopening? Kramer's got the answer, and it might be simpler than you think. Next.
Kramer, you are super, you are awesome.
I'm a first-time investor.
Thank you for inspiring me to get in the game.
Your show is the best. I'm so glad you're on TV.
I want to know that you have transformed me. Thank you, Kramer.
Had to do it. That one looked good from when it left.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was like a putt with, just like yours. You're going to have a straight line to make it. Because it's a straight putt. Just about. Did that putt go to the left a little bit? Oh yeah, I forgot. I was hitting them low burning. Get your ass on down there. Yeah, and propellers ain't even moving. You see my yacht down there, though.
Upgrade to the ultimate work chair with the one and only XHNT 5X chair. Save $100 when you order today. The last trading day of the quarter. Pressure on tech. Rising inflation concerns. Key stocks to watch for before the first trade. Squawk on the street at 9 a.m. Eastern. Watch or listen live on the CNBC app.
Hold it. Look at Slinky.
Go in.
Well, swank him again then. That's what they told him.
What will people do when they're vaccinated? I got another vaccination here today. Will they go back to the office or work from home? Will they spend like drunken sailors? Will they embrace the great outdoors? Will people keep biking indoors on their Pelotons with a camelback strapped on them? Or is this the kind of thing they want to experience outside as part of wonders of nature? Will we keep barbecuing endlessly this summer? Or will we be so sick of doing the dishes as I am that we'd rather wait in line for an hour in a Texas house? As long as it means we don't have to clean.
That's not it.
At this point,
I did.
it's pretty clear. This is a guessing game that's pointless because all bets are off. We don't know what people will do. And frankly, this market hasn't exactly been all that discerning. Nearly all the great reopening stocks have run, which makes this entire game a lot less rewarding. I'm suggesting we stop playing it. Well, we know there's so much new money coming into the economy that people will do something. I'm not even talking about the infrastructure bill. But the market's suddenly getting cold feet about the reopening as COVID cases make a comeback. Your goal is to find the things that consumers will embrace no matter what once they finally have the option to go places. You know what? It's a short list. That makes it a little bit easier for us, doesn't it? Right now, for instance, I can only count 2 retail stocks that consistently went up as the market was rotating back and forth between essential, non-essential change. I'm talking about Lowe's and Home Depot. Why? Because in lockdown, you had to
The lineman was straight. I might have made it.
Schoolrooms, or just generally fixing the place up because there's nowhere else to go. Now that we're in reopening mode, there's a new thesis. Housing prices are skyrocketing, real scarcity. So remodeling is no longer a costly expense. It's now a valuable capital improvement to a rapidly appreciating asset. When investors see that, they don't want to choose between Kohl's and Walmart. They just want Lowe's and Home Depot because they
Got your block over there.
plus the gardening season around the corner, the equivalent of Christmas for these two. The numbers should be excellent. Personally, right now, I prefer Lowe's, which is finally catching up to the despot thanks to the leadership of CEO Marvin Ellison. And wait, I'm going to check their flats out first. Those who don't know what flats are, it has nothing to do with Chewy, Brian Coleman, or GameStop. You keep running with this theme of no matter what, okay? If you want your home to look better and you've got more money to burn, well, then where do you go? Well, we can go into Williams-Sonoma, right? Or we go to RH. The rumors crush it with every single one of the bricks. Oh, no longer just West End, thank heavens. I think the flats at Williams-Sonoma can clean up now that the mall is back in style.
I love them cores. Them cores feel good.
As for RH, yes, remember Restoration Hardware?
It feels sturdy.
This is the publicly traded way to cash in on the wealth effect. Explode that. Furniture for rich people don't necessarily want to pay a decorator. How strong is this brand? Look, RH is about starting designing homes in Ashland. They haven't done it yet. They're not even on the drawing board, and yet they're already multiple buyers. Wouldn't you love to have that business? Doesn't it tell you everything you need to know? I think these two will continue to work hard, and they're amazing, aren't they? Because the exodus from the cities won't be coming to an end, even when everyone is vaccinated. When RH reported, I said that's going to be worth 100 points. People laughed. Yes, they all laughed at me, not unlike Carrie in that great gym scene, but it turned out I was right. It turned out it was worth a lot more. Now that we know working from home is viable, there's much less reason to live right near your job. Same reason I like Tractor Supply is wearing their hat the other day. Because the people who moved out to the country, they're not coming back anytime soon. If they do come back, they're going to use my car, which gives you one more subsector that works. Cars. Specifically used cars, because of that darn chip shortage that's slowing down the production of new ones. What do I like? I like CarMax, Lithium Motors, Sensible Life, AutoNation, and I am thrilled about what I heard tonight from Carvana. So listen, don't make this harder on yourself. Please, don't make it harder than it needs to be. Meaning, don't try to guess what might or might not work under the great reopening. Just go with what works no matter what. That's the safer, smarter way to approach this really treacherous market, at least for the growth stocks. I like to say there's always a bull market somewhere. I'm trying to just be right here and make money. I'm Jim Cramer. See you tomorrow. The news with Shepard Smith starts now.
What do you want? You gotta talk.
A nation in COVID crisis, and now its government appears to be in free fall. Plus, tears on the witness stand in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. I'm Shepard Smith. This is the news on CNBC.
Why they ain't just put that man in the chair and just fry him?
They saw as George Floyd lay under a cop's knee.
And then what?
I said, why don't they just put that man in the chair and fry him? The Derek Chauvin.
Oh, yeah.
The knee on the neck nigga. They showed this shit again the other day. This shit hard. I still can't look at this shit. Not from start to finish. I can't take it when you see him dying, man. I can't handle that now. Everybody in that thing should have been arrested. Oh man, with the paramedics, even the paramedics, they checking the man post with the man knee still on, somebody should say a move. Look, watch that. Let me, something, bro. How can you check a man post when you checking it on his neck, but he got a knee on his neck? How can you correctly check the post?
We heard from a mixed martial artist seen here in police body cam video who yelled at officers, "Get off that man." He testified he he could hear and see George Floyd gasping for air while his neck was under Chauvin's knee.
At some point, did you make a 911 call?
That is correct. Dave called police on the police.
Right. Why did you do that?
Mm-hmm. Several people did.
Witness a murder.
We heard from a teenager who recorded the now infamous cell phone video of Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. The court decided we can't show her face because of her young age.
It's been nice. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life.
Several of the eyewitnesses to George Floyd's death who were testifying are not being shown on camera because they're so young, including a 9-year-old whose voice quivered as she recalled all that she saw. NBC's Jay Gray, live outside the courthouse in Minneapolis. Jay's emotional and compelling testimony all day.
I forget to put it on the thing.
You're absolutely right, and as you described so well.
Like on stroke play so we can see it. I play all the whole.
Some of the most compelling, gripping testimony came from a Minneapolis firefighter and EMT who lives in the neighborhood and just happened upon the scene the day George Floyd died. Genevieve Hanson moved to tears as she described what she saw, telling George she was off duty but desperate to help, approaching police, identifying herself as a medic, and offering to check George Floyd's pulse and start chest compressions if necessary, but she says officers just told her to move to the sidewalk with the rest of the crowd.
I offered to walk them through it or told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions, and that wasn't done either. I would have been able to provide medical attention to the best of my abilities, and this human was denied that right.
Yeah, during cross-examination, the defense team did push back, saying that with police already there, stood to reason that medics would be on the way. And asking Hanson if the situation was distracting or hostile because of the emotions of those who had gathered there.
Would you describe other people's demeanors as upset or angry?
Yeah, just change it to your putter league and just like tap it, so you can skip the hole.
You may remember an opening statement, Shep, that Chauvin's defense team said that they believe the growing and angry crowd really played that day. Today, a separate
so you go get to the neck.
Outrage and pleas for Chauvin to release the hold, only to make him shift his weight and apply more pressure.
What's the reasoning?
Thank you. David Henderson now, civil rights attorney, former prosecutor, CNBC contributor. Thanks so much. Genevieve Hanson. She's not just any eyewitness. She's a first responder herself, just like Chauvin, and she's employed as a firefighter by the same city as Derek Chauvin. How powerful and important is her testimony?
Shep, I think you hit the nail on the head. She works the same place. She does a very similar job. And what's most telling about her testimony is not what she said, it's how she responded to having to revisit the moment that she watched George Floyd die. Those tears that came out of her eyes are the most compelling evidence, some of the most compelling evidence of the case so far.
You know, other than
Go ahead then.
that one, there were other eyewitnesses who were clearly...
You gotta keep skipping those till we get all the way back to where we was at.
It's hard to overstate the impact of emotion in this case like this. I've said several times, Seth, that the way they talk about cases in an environment like this is very different from the way the jury processes it in the courtroom. That emotion helps to clarify for the jurors why they're there and why it's so important for them to get this case right. It's hard to overstate that importance.
The defense
skip the hole.
These eyewitnesses, and in some cases, it almost felt adversarial. Your take on how it went?
It's dangerous cross-crossing emotional analysis if you don't have a report. The defense is almost in an impossible position, but as I say that, their cross-examination actually bolstered some of the witnesses. The MMA guy, they basically proved that yes, he was in fact an expert in chokehold. One of the most damning pieces of evidence all day came to a young woman who testified and said that She feels obligated to apologize to George Floyd for not doing more.
No, got hit with the
Questioning from the defense. The prosecution picked up on.
You mentioned the MMA this morning. It felt like, and you told me, Counselor, but it felt like they were trying to say, if we had released the whole George Floyd, we were afraid that he was a wrestler, overpower us and cause injury to one of our people. They never said those words, but it appeared to be where they were going.
That seemed like where they were going, and I don't understand what the logic was with that. The other problem that I saw with that testimony was it doesn't look like the prosecution is adequately preparing their witnesses to take the stand, because as effective as I thought he was, I thought they could have gotten even more out of it. Like, for example, anyone who's done jujitsu before, it's definitely possible to say tap in addition to tapping while you're being choked. That'd be relevant if today's been questioned.
What else do you think that the prosecution could have gotten but failed to get?
I think what the prosecution should have done was just stay tighter in their focus with regard to the testimony. And I know that's not exactly what you're asking me, because you're asking me do I think they could have gotten more evidence. But here's one of those situations where less is more. Think about the movie Jaws. You only actually see the shark twice. The rest of the time it's implied. Trials work the same way. You don't have to ask every single question.
All right, we're at the end of day 2. How do you see things in the main?
As of right now, I think the prosecution's winning, but it's easy for them to be winning at this point because they said they were going to make that video come to life, and they have. There's still a path to victory for Derek Chauvin. It's just going to involve some very difficult choices, like, for example, whether or not he wants to take the stand.
David Henderson, thanks so much. The trial, by the way, continues tomorrow. You can get live updates from the courtroom on NBCNews.com. For the very first time, the Biden administration allowing journalists inside a severely overcrowded border facility in South Texas, where more than 3,000 migrant children are living, eating, and sleeping crammed shoulder to shoulder. Because of the pandemic, only 250 migrants are supposed to be allowed in this temporary processing facility. These are pods for unaccompanied minors. Under CDC guidelines, 32 kids are allowed in each one. 32. But journalists counted more than 500, even 600 in a single pod, at least 15 times the limit. The Border Patrol agent in charge of the Rio Grande Valley told journalists that he's worked this situation and he expects it will get worse as the U.S. faces a growing surge of migrant children at the border.
I'm a father. I don't want to see that. As a Border Patrol agent, I didn't sign up for this. You know, I have kids of my own. Yes, we are officers. Yes, we enforce the immigration laws. But when you have kids involved, then we have to take care of these kids. This is not
where we go from
here. Oscar Escamilla said that about 250 to 300 migrant children are entering the facility in Donna, Texas. NBC's Anthony Hilton is there.
Hi, Chef. All of that overcrowding in facilities like Donna is directly connected to the surge in people arriving at the border. And Border Patrol gave media a ride along this morning and told reporters that they expect to encounter 1 million migrants at the border this fiscal year. And when you meet these people who are coming here, what you often hear is they're escaping violence and persecution in their home countries and then experiencing more abuse during the trip up to the border. And then they also were able to get people to open up a bit about what they've been through on this ride along, including one Guatemalan mother carrying her 2-month-old baby who spoke about fleeing violence and poverty and coming here on a raft. There's also grave concern about the role that smugglers are playing in bringing people up to the United States and the potential for abuse. One Border Patrol agent inside Ghana mentioned that many of the kids experience abuse or even molestation during the journey here to the United States. Take a listen to what we heard from Border Patrol Deputy Chief Raul Ortiz earlier today.
It's very concerning to see a 2- and 3-year-old or an infant crossing. Because the smuggler, what they're trying to do is get them across as quickly as they possibly can on the U.S. soil, and then they abandon them. They don't show them where the trail is. They drop them all, and they leave them, to fend for themselves.
The message officials are trying to send to migrants right now is don't come here. But given the levels of violence and poverty in much of Central America, many people don't expect them to heed those warnings, Chef.
Antonia, thank you. The state of Georgia's sweeping election reform law criticized for making it harder to cast votes there. Tonight, 2 other states are making moves to do the opposite. A win for voting rights ahead. It's been called the most important labor struggle in decades. Coming up in this news hour, counting the votes to create the first Amazon workers union in America, and honoring the service and celebrating the life of Boulder police officer Eric Talley 1 week after a gunman shot and killed him. From the journalists of CNBC and the worldwide resources of NBC Universal, this is the news. Back in 60 seconds.
I'm Draymond Green with my Subway sub, a tender steak, and melty cheese.
My sub is going to dump all over your sub.
Excuse me?
My sub has bacon.
Choose better, be better. And now save when you order in the app. Subway, eat fresh.
But not Jason Sub.
Hey, Lily, I need a new wireless plan for my business, but all my employees need something different.
Oh, we can help with that. Okay, imagine this. You're neighbor, Rob. He's on the scene and needs a plan with a mobile hotspot. We cut to downtown. Your sales rep, Lisa, has to send some files, like ASAP.
So basically, I can pick the right plan for each employee.
Yeah, I should have just let it pass.
With AT&T Business, you can pick the best plan for each employee and only pay for the features they need.
You've always been an original. But now, you're officially an original. Protect your work with LegalZoom. LegalZoom. Let's make it official.
A public funeral held today for Eric Talley, the Boulder, Colorado police officer killed in last week's mass shooting. Hundreds of law enforcement officers honored Talley with a procession ahead of the service. It stretched for miles, with people lining the streets paying respects. Then officers carried his flag-draped casket into Flatirons Community Church, about 20 minutes from where he made the ultimate sacrifice. Talley was the first officer on scene when the gunman opened fire inside of King Soopers.
Officer Talley believed in something so strongly, he was willing to die for it. This is called integrity. I would argue Officer Talley's life was not taken. He was given. He gave it.
Officer Eric Talley was 51 years old, on the job more than 10 years. Leaves behind his wife and 7 children. His father says he loved his family more than anything. Question: should it be easier or harder to vote? More or less restrictive? Well, we reported on the hundreds of election bills trying to tighten voting rights all across the country, restricting mail-in ballots, shortening early voting days, on and on. But New Jersey and Kentucky are 2 states. Last night, Kentucky lawmakers passed a measure that would add 3 days of early voting. And today, the New Jersey governor signed a bill into law that adds as many as 9 days. NBC's Jane Kim, live outside the New Jersey State Capitol, where the bill was signed. Jane, Democrats calling this a win for voting rights.
Good evening. Now, Governor Phil Murphy was taking a victory lap for sure today at a Zoom bill signing where he touted this early voting proposal. He said he's opening the doors of democracy while other states are slamming that door. Now, to try and make a contrast with what's happened in Georgia last week, we brought in Stacey Abrams to talk about this. Now, Elvis could broadly say these changes are beneficial for voters because they offer weekend and evening hours. But let's listen to what Stacey Abrams had to say.
In 43 states across this country, we are seeing an onslaught, an attack on democracy. In-person early voting says to Americans who have to work on a schedule that isn't based on an agrarian economy from the 18th century that their voices matter.
I've been reporting on restrictions across the country, Texas, Arizona, Florida, Michigan, that would largely make it harder to vote, particularly by mail. Now, the Brennan Center for Justice says there are more than 253 voting restrictions being proposed in 43 states. Now, this number is going to rise, but an interesting point is while these are bitterly partisan fights, Kentucky's actually found some bipartisan common ground. Late last night, lawmakers sent a bill to the governor's desk that, amongst other things, as you said, would add early voting.
Yeah, but when I was saying it, she was
vote
like,
on that House bill was 91.
she was like, there's a lot of
the things that they might disqualify you for if you try to whatchamacallit. So she was like, you get to tell them that you're doing the HELOC for home improvement or to pay off debt. But she said you can't tell them that you're using it for the house, like to invest in real estate or anything.
Tell who? Whoever you doing the HELOC with?
Yeah.
And that's because of why? What they were doing. In turn, if you were to tell them that, what they would do?
They'll dig deeper, and they might be asking, what house you had, what you look into your money more, look into certain things more. It's easier to get disqualified when you could just tell them it's for something else. You know what I mean? They may dig deeper into it. So she's like, yeah, she said if you are.
So you saying like per se, like if you were trying to do it like towards the real estate or like buying a new house or whatever, like them HELOC people, like they looking for like people to be at a certain standard, I guess, if they doing some digging, right? Like they want you to be like where they want you to be at, correct. I guess, wherever that is.
Yeah, well they get more investigative once they find out you're investing in real estate. They might want to, find out if the house is up to par or this, that, just all types of stuff. They can ask more. So, she was like, if you was trying to do that, you should have just did a cash out. But I was like, I could have did a cash out refi, and pulled out some bread.
Do what now? What's that? What are you talking about?
When I refinanced my house, I could have pulled the equity out of it.
Oh.
And got paid. But I wouldn't get, like, it's worth it. I got it.
You saying you could have pulled whatever equity that like you done built up since you've been owning this house? You could have pulled that whatever that amount out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You don't get 100% though. Like,
why? It's getting taxed or interest or.
That's just the way the banks and loans work. You don't get I'm almost up 100,000 on this house, but I wouldn't get the whole 100,000. You get like a certain percentage, and then some.
But what's the percentage? Is it closer to 50%, 75%?
It's closer to like 70. I think between 60 to 80, probably. Yeah, I mean.
So you probably would have got like something like around from 65,000 to 75,000.
That ain't really no. I mean, it's a game, but ain't a whole bunch. I got 29. I put some money into it.
So what happens when the person do that though? Like say like you did the refinance and you pulled the equity out.
Yeah.
So in turn this for that makes your mortgage payments cheaper or less, right? By refinancing?
Oh yeah, when you refinance.
So when you refinance, like you would
you make your year. Some people do it to turn on their years. Instead of getting 30 years, they do 15 years. They have the same amount you're paying.
Oh, right, but their mortgage don't go up, but the years go down.
Right.
How that work? That sounds like a win for the mortgager. I mean, that sounds like a win. Like, how that work?
If the interest rate, if you got your interest rate was 10% and they cut it to 5%, and the interest rate was 5%, just for example.
But that's what a refinance could do. You saying?
Yeah, like right now when the interest rates went down, before the regular rates was a lot higher. So everybody cut their rates down.
But like when the rates go down, like a person who owns the house has to get that lower rate, a person has to refinance.
Pretty much, unless you're just paying. But see, also if you're paying more for the house, if you're paying like per diem, you pay that per diem up.
What's that?
It's basically like time that you're getting paid per hour or the work that you do. That's what per diem is. So like as soon as when you have a house payment, Like if you don't pay your payment like before the first, you're actually getting charged in the meantime. People
Oh yeah, when you late on that one on the mortgage.
Yeah, but not even if you're late. If you're like past like the first, it's not late. Like the 15th is really late.
Oh, so when you saying like for you?
Everybody. You pay per diem. Like you pay,
Oh really?
you pay
So
more money like for each like
well,
day that you're making your payment later.
but I'm saying like don't different people with different houses make their payment on a different date of the month? Everybody like you kind of making it sound like it don't matter what.
The 15th is everybody. You're late after the 15th.
Also, everybody that has a mortgage,
Yeah.
their due date is on the 15th.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought like it was like rent. Like people got pay their rent on different days of the month, depending on when they moved in the motherfucking apartment.
Yeah. Nah, the way.
But when you got a mortgage, it's
when the bank set it up. Either way, how it goes is going to be on the first, from the beginning.
right.
Yeah.
Because like every house that's bought, the person had to go through a bank unless they bought it cash money.
Right.
But if you got a loan for that house, then you late on the past 15th.
Yeah.
Word.
But all those days,
Word. So
every day your thing is higher. Your mortgage is higher.
word.
Yeah. I didn't know that for a long time.
Me either. I didn't know that until just now. So I was like, when up until like Tapper paid their house off, and then like all the years my mom was paying the mortgage on the house out there, she was paying it like by the 15th.
That's what most people do.
I'm asking you, like, her due date was the 15th and Taps was the 15th. If they got a loan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what my question was.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Pete's house payment is due on the 15th.
It's like interest. You know what I mean? For the most part, it's like the interest that you're paying like an interest every day that you ain't paid your thing.
If you missed their per diem.
Yeah. Oh, I mean back.
But don't it cost to refinance?
No. Well, yes. My bad. It does, but it doesn't. They can put it in your loan to where you ain't gotta come out of pocket. But it's still gonna be in your loan. It's gonna be added into your loan. Yeah, I mean.
The 91-year-old matriarch mother was waiting on her late husband's documents for 11 months, trying to get some care for 5 years.
But I think I'm gonna wait. What's that, Mama? What is it? Huh? I passed it? Okay. Let's get up. You want to put it on the TV?
What about a solution? I mean, are veterans going to just be hung out to dry until the entire National Personnel Records Center is back in the office or what?
Hey.
Documents from this agency a month ago, we were told with an 18-month backlog. That's enormous. 500,000 requests, half of them from veterans themselves, the others from family and other people. Since then,
what's the difference between a pop show and a splash show?
has doubled its capacity, but they're still only at 25%. But more
I don't know the name. I don't never played the splash up. Like, I played anyway. So,
that will help get people into the office.
like I said, the name.
Employees have also been working from home, but I say working from home because recently they're not
only executive.
starting to digitize some of these paper documents. We're finally making some baby steps, but it's going to be a long haul.
Get in. Oh, goodbye. That stays in the pet. Look out. Same.
And now the NTSB chief investigator looking at how workers treated that highway and how they applied the treatment to snow and ice. The first report should be out in a few weeks. The conclusion.
Here we are just getting everything set up. Today is TGC Tours Day. TGC Tours Day today. It should be an absolutely gorgeous day. This is at Wincoma Golf Club. Wincoma Golf Club. This is the same course that we played in the Gamer Saloon event as well. Absolutely stunning course. I've been watching a couple guys go up.
And presumed big leaps for mankind announced today as some of the biggest companies compete in the civilian race to space. Following the 1-800-Farmers, you can also home policy books like the claim free discount. So 3 years without claims, get a discount. Just like phoning it up. Yeah, just phone it in. Take place the day free. Even if I switch to Farmers today, yes, please, please, say no, sir. Get your policy book by calling 1-800-Farmers. Phone it in right now.
We have here Little Caesar's thin crust, toppings go all the way to the edge.
6 foot in. I can do that. You want to fly commercial? That's right. That's free. Yes, that is free. Free. Oh.
Put that straight suit on.
The world's first 6-month Mexico travel available in GMC's. Home buyers are shelling out big bucks for more space, right? And that's what's stopping CABC. U.S. house prices rose more than 11% in January. Biggest jump in 7 years. The pandemic fueling demand for single-family homes with more Americans work remotely. But realtors say there is not enough supply to go around. PayPal users in the U.S. are now use cryptocurrency. It'll be the favorite option in millions of online stores. PayPal announced it'll convert the digital currency into cash without charging transaction fees. And April Fools, Volkswagen is not changing the name of its U.S. operation to Volkswagen, after all. That's according to a person familiar with the matter. The news came out yesterday in what appeared to be a leaked press release about a focus on electric vehicles, but as it turns out, it was just a stunt to promote an electric vehicle collaboration. On Wall Street, the Dow down 109, the S&P down 13, the Nasdaq down 14.
What are you doing?
Shepard Smith. College sports, $1 billion business, but players are not paid. The Supreme Court arguments from both sides that change. Crowded hospitals and the lack of beds. People dying in line, waiting for help. COVID in Brazil, crippling the country's healthcare system. Here's a woman who's been reporting on the front line since day one. And the federal government committed its own resources to fight a surge of attacks against Asian Americans. The Department of Justice asked the U.S. to track, investigate, and prosecute crime offenders. The White House created a task force to try to fight the rising violence against Asians during the pandemic. And the FBI holding nationwide trainings to recognize and report anti-Asian violence. Few cities have been spared the violence, but data shows spikes in Boston, Philly, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Phoenix, and the worst of it all in New York. From 3 Asian hate crimes in 2019 to 28 last year, and already 33 this year. show the latest attack, but a warning to you now, it is difficult to watch. Police say a 65-year-old woman was walking to church when a man punched and kicked her while shouting anti-Asian slurs. This is Midtown Manhattan. You can see the attacker stomping on the woman's upper body and head 3 times after she fell onto the sidewalk. A security guard watched the whole time, and then more show up. None stopped the attacker. Not one. No one helped the woman. One even appeared to close the door on her. Officials say medics took the woman to a hospital with a broken pelvis. She's now listed in a stable condition. NBC's Jolene Kent now. Joe, again, these attacks we're seeing over and over now.
We are, Chef. Good evening. Officials say the woman who was so brutally beaten in that video has just been released from the hospital after recovering there in stable condition. Now, the New York City Hate Crimes Task Force is now investigating the incident, and there has been no arrest of the suspects yet. Now, if you look closely at that video, you'll see that the individual inside of the lobby of that Manhattan luxury apartment complex watching and doing nothing. Now, building management says they've been suspended pending an investigation. So that lack of action has been happening on campus and has Asian American activists like Amanda Webb speaking out.
It is a fundamental betrayal of what it means to be an American if people do not stand up in the face of hate right now. When I see videos of people who are harassed, who are violently assaulted, and also see people who stand by and do nothing, what does that say about the moral character of our country?
I've been asking law enforcement experts why we keep seeing these horrific incidents against the Asian American community as awareness of the problem is going up. It's growing, right? Well, the answer so far has been a combination of increased reporting of these incidents, which is an important thing, and a possible issue of copycat violence targeting vulnerable AAPI members of all ages. Now, overall, hate crimes against Asian Americans rose nearly 150% nationwide last year. Advocates are telling me that they expect that disturbingly fast rise to only grow as the pandemic continues.
Jolene Kent, thanks so much. Amid the violence, we're taking a closer look at the social and economic challenges facing the Asian American community, spotlighting small business owners devastated by COVID and xenophobia, plus conversations with experts on the history of anti-Asian sentiment in America. Melissa Lee and John Ford anchor our 1-hour special report. Don't miss it. Tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, CNBC. Global health experts are warning COVID mutations could make current vaccines ineffective. A survey by the People's Vaccine Alliance found 2/3 of all experts say we'll need new or modified shots within 1 year as the virus continues to mutate. Fewer than 1 in 8 says that he or she believes the mutations will never make the current vaccine ineffective. A number of vaccine developers have already reported that they're creating booster shots that could work better against these variants, like the ones first discovered in the UK, South Africa, Brazil, and now New York. AstraZeneca facing more questions about its vaccine. Brand new today, health officials in Germany are now saying nobody under the age of 60 will get it there. Some who received the AstraZeneca vaccine reported getting blood clots. The country's health minister said people 60 and older can still receive it, despite what they call a small risk of the serious side effect. Canada announced a similar vote just yesterday, suspending the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine in people under age 55. In a statement, company officials reaffirmed that the EU regulator and the World Health Organization found the benefits of that shot outweigh the risk. In Brazil now, people are dying with COVID as they wait for a spot in ICU. A hospital supervisor in Sao Paulo says they're maxed out, but that people keep showing up looking for help that's simply not available. Here, a COVID patient intubated at a field hospital set up at a gymnasium. Brazil reported more than 3,700 COVID deaths just today. That's an all-time high, according to the nation's health ministry. Right now, more than 150 people are dying in Brazil every hour. The nation accounts for roughly 1/4 of all COVID deaths in the world. So far, roughly 2% of Brazil's population has been fully vaccinated. Only 2%. As daily cases and deaths rise, some local leaders are imposing new restrictions. But Brazil's president has consistently attacked those measures. In fact, earlier this month, he told people, stop whining about the deaths and move on. Johns Hopkins reports Brazil has the second most COVID deaths in the world, trailing only the United States, but with less than 2/3 of the population. Patrizia Mello now, or Mello. She's a local journalist in Sao Paulo. Patrizia,
That man said, I don't want to hear no more.
these numbers are just
Move on.
and we're led to believe it's
Move
worse
on.
than the official numbers indicate.
Yes, Shepard, thanks for having me. Situation is completely out of control. We've had people
what's nasty?
because of lack of oxygen. People are literally suffocating. There are no medications for intubation. There are no ICU beds. It's a combination of lack of planning and just denialism of the seriousness of the disease.
Some breaking news out of Brazil. A short time ago, we learned the heads of Brazil's Army, Navy, and Air Force all resigned. And that comes after a major reshuffling of President Bolsonaro's government just yesterday. He fired the defense minister and 4 other cabinet members. This looks like a nation in complete chaos. What's happening there?
Well, there's popular pressure now because of the mismanagement of the pandemic here in Brazil. So because of this pressure and President Bolsonaro's approval rates are falling, so he fired some ministers and today the chiefs of the armed forces, they resigned because they were being pressured by Bolsonaro to have some sort of curfew or extreme measures that were almost approved by.
What lessons that you've learned can the rest of us take from what Brazilians are experiencing right now?
Well, I think the main lesson is that when you have a president or a leader that is spreading disinformation and saying that people should not worry if they don't have to do social distancing, this is very, very serious. And we've seen the results now with, all the deaths.
Patrizia, thank you so much live tonight from Sao Paulo. World leaders are calling for a
Sao Paulo.
Dozens of them supporting the idea at a World Post.
Oh yeah, I remember I've been there back in the day.
Few details provided, but they say there needs to be a plan to prepare for the next pandemic.
COVID-19 has been a harsh reminder. No one is safe until everyone is safe. Immunization is a global public good.
International regulations by the WHO already exist, but can be ignored by countries with few consequences. So enforcement for a treaty like this will be something for member nations to consider. The U.S. State Department is now ordering all non-emergency government employees and their families to leave Myanmar now. This comes during extreme violence in the country.
Yeah, they know me down there.
This area has now killed at least 512 civilians.
Man, I've been all through Belém.
Began on February 1st, according to activists. Activists there are now launching a garbage strike to oppose military rule. They're leaving piles of trash at key intersections in some major cities. Security forces have fired live rounds of clouds for at least the last 2 weeks. The demonstrators claim a grenade launcher from the government security forces hit their sandbag barricade. Protesters scattered after the explosion created a hole in that barricade. This is a crisis we continue to cover. Tomorrow we'll hear from a reporter on the ground in Myanmar about the crackdown and the refugees this crisis is creating. The NCAA, all about the Final Four tomorrow.
That ain't what I did in my practice swing.
The Supreme Court showdown over college athletes and whether they should get paid. How this case could change the game forever. And you know what they say? A girl can never have too many Nike Dunks or Air Force Ones or one.
What the hell is Shepard talking about now, man?
The largest shoe auction ever. Up next, women sneakerheads kicking the competition.
How great is it that we get to tell everybody
Shut up, Smith. Get back to the stuff, man. I ain't had nothing to talk about.
I can see a girl being more of a sneakerhead than a guy. I mean, just as far as not sneakerhead, but as far as like, okay, mama, I'll get it. Leave it there. I'm just saying, like a female that loves to shop or something, that likes sneakers.
Yeah.
You see how they do with shoes.
That's why I go with Liberty Mutual. They customize my car insurance, so I only pay for what I need.
And they still be cheaper. I mean, to a certain extent.
Imaginary lines that lie between us. It's just lines. You see us, beyond races and classes. One day we'll all dance and raise grass. So we are one. This doesn't have to be zero sum game where some lose and some gain.
So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna wait and get my credit up, so then apply for the HELOC.
What they'll do, they'll let you get. They'll let you get through.
Thing that they couldn't deny me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they be funny about a lot of stuff. So basically, she was telling me a HELOC is like a revolving line of credit. She said I probably got about. Dude was saying I probably got around 60,000 or something. Somewhere around there.
So what's the difference between a line of credit and a revolving line of credit? What do you say that for?
It's just because like it's basically like I can after I borrow against it, if I flip it, I can borrow against it again.
What do you mean you flip it? How you flip it? What do you mean flip it?
I planned on investing it in property real estate.
Oh, you mean if you are alright? That's what I'm just asking. Like you saying like if you get that money and you actually like do whatever you do with the money, like you make double. You flip it.
Yeah. So basically, it's like me borrowing credit against myself. So it's like you're not being paid pound of money, but you just pay it back. I have to pay it back.
Oh, okay.
And you get a lien. What is going on? Did you poopy or not? Oh, I just asked you that.
The majority of our collection began with Air Force One.
You be tripping, man.
So with you saying with the HELOC, like you gotta pay that back.
Yeah, but you make payments. You can make payments on it, and then once you pay it back, then you can do another. You can do it again. Borrow the money again.
When there are very secret sex and are just as involved in the community as the men, and now the sisters are making secret history.
But you said if you don't pay it back, and you said what they put a lien on the house. What they mean? What they leaning on?
Just basically you can't do nothing with the house, no benefits or nothing from the house until you satisfy the lien. And then they can eventually take your house if you don't satisfy the lien. It takes some time. Yeah, it ain't no money you can just play with. You lose your house and everything.
But that's not called like a foreclosure, right? That's exactly what you call it.
It's still. I think it's still kind of going to those same type of things.
But that's not like how the majority of people like out here losing their houses, right?
Oh no.
Because like a majority probably can't even get a HELOC, right? Like if you was like in a person like that was about to lose the house, you probably wouldn't even know what the fuck a HELOC was.
But that comes down to the point where your credit gotta be good. You sleeping, mommy? Sleeping? Oh. It's hot.
That's what I was thinking about last night too. So I gotta get my credit. I gotta get my credit right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because they look at history. That's one of the major things that affects your credit. That's how long you done had it.
So why is it different for college sports? Many student athletes say the rules should be the same across the board for everybody. The critics argue college athletes are amateurs and shouldn't be paid like pros. Look at the NCAA balance sheet to see who is it. Well, now the Supreme Court's getting involved. Here's the
You hear some college athletes tell it, this is the real March Madness. The NCAA's 22-year TV contract for the men's basketball tournament is worth $19.6 billion. But the players, the stars of the show, will receive almost none of that under strict NCAA rules that limit compensation for players, barring everything from postgraduate scholarships to laptop computers. The association says it's necessary to protect the amateur nature of college sports. Here's NCAA's president Mark Emmert at a Senate hearing last year. We want to preserve the unique character and quality of college sports. So nonsense, say the student athletes, especially as colleges spend millions on professional-style stadiums. And in many states is the college football. At the start of this year's tournament, student athletes flooded Twitter with the hashtag #NotNCAA Pride. The NCAA loses this opens up the opportunity for athletes to basically function any particular way. The Supreme Court won't decide whether college athletes should be paid. The justices are only being asked to decide if the NCAA compensation rules are illegal collusion by colleges under federal antitrust law. If they say yes, experts say it could open up the floodgates for college athletics.
What are you arresting me for?
In the business of sports, with so much at stake, powerful allies are lining up on both sides. The Biden administration tried to sell
What do you want?
several big college sports states like Alabama, Georgia,
Hold on. Calm down.
Lord have mercy. She couldn't help it. She couldn't help it that time. I know when they get like that. When Brandon get like, you get to talking about some he, yeah. Oh no, you calm down right now.
Yeah, you in the zone,
you about to go, you going crazy now.
No something about to happen. Everybody tighten up. Something going on. They focus this.
Well, sometimes like he'll try to run, like if he know it's time to go, like he'll try to run to the door before like somebody can get there. Right. He's about to trip himself up or trip somebody else. Right. Hold it now.
Exactly.
Just calm down. We going.
What are you doing? What do you got? Give it to me.
For the last 40 years has been getting away with passing off this highly commercialized football, basketball enterprise that's somehow attached to higher education. But finally, the jig is up. The jig is up. Even if they happen to lose this case, the NCAA is going to basically suffer the same fate Major League Baseball did in 1970 when Curt Flood sued baseball, for basically what became free agency. So that's what you need to take away from this. That for the NCAA, the hustle is over.
I understand, and I appreciate the comparison, but I will say this. The NCAA's got a lot of money, and the NCAA's got a lot of power, and it argues that amateur athletes are an essential part of the product. Is that in any way a fair assessment? I mean, without the amateur athlete, do college athletics even exist?
Yeah, well, and that's the whole roots of this.
Yeah.
When they refer to it as a product, when you look at this game, this tournament tonight, the Final Four, when you looked at the football playoff system, the NCAA for years has been throwing muddy water on us, trying to convince us it's raining. And finally, the Supreme Court, even if they don't do it this time, they're going to be led to the ultimate conclusion that this is a commercial enterprise, and the colleges and the coaches that benefit from it are going to have to basically change the way they do business. The athletes, whether it's a softball player, whether it's a lacrosse player, or all the way up to a football and basketball player, are all part of this on-campus entertainment. And the powers that be at NCAA are going to have to find a way to feed some of this profit to the entertainers who are the athletes.
Bill Roden, it'll be fascinating to watch. Thanks so much, appreciate it. So another SpaceX rocket on the launch pad today, came down, but it did not land.
Again?
Damn.
Yeah, it did. SpaceX's attempt to stick the landing. And it was when astronauts were grown from the ranks of the hotshot test pilots. Now private industries prepping space voyages for the rest of us.
They can't land that thing, man.
To visit the stars.
One thing for sure, it ain't no shortage of money.
Should they keep doing that, they will be.
Shit, one failed attempt of one crash rocket is goddamn billions.
Yeah.
This shit didn't happen goddamn, man, look. 3-4 times.
Yeah. What's it now?
Somebody that billions ain't running out.
Yeah. But I mean,
I don't know how you can say that. Like how your billions ain't running out.
yeah, that's like Elon Musk.
Well, yeah, that's what we talking about, SpaceX.
Yeah. Yeah, Elon Musk ain't gonna run out.
Got one? Ooh, good one. Yeah.
But I think he get a lot of sponsors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like
I'm an investor. I'm a stockholder, so shareholder, so guess I'm invested in.
Cause I think that's how it be going. Like even if the person behind it do got like enough money to do it, it still like seems like with big projects like that, sponsors be in it, or more than one person be in it.
What you say, my bad? I was tripping over her. What you say, bro?
No, I was just saying like even like with big things like that, even like if the person behind it does per se have enough money to do it by itself, it seems like those big things, it always is like several people just pulling together to do it.
That's the only way to do it. Well, I mean, not
without like fronting all the risk on yourself.
Right. Unless you just got the blue. But he's involved in many other deals, so you don't want to waste all your money on one deal.
Shark Tank, coming up next. CBC, get yours. Watch it Encore presentation.
They say you first just find your dream first, so you pass it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
SpaceX prototype rocket
you just build off of
destroyed
that.
in a landing attempt this morning. It was a clean liftoff from a
Better get a bunch of businesses off of that.
But as the rocket started its landing procedure and the engines reignited, the rocket exploded again. This video feed cut off as the craft blew up. This was the fourth successful Starship prototype launch since December, but none had landed successfully. But it's not all mission gone wrong. Two big developments in our race to space today. One company announcing the world's first all-civilian crew going to the final frontier, and another unveiling a sleek new spaceship, the addition to Virgin Galactic fleet. CBC's Morgan Brennan now. Hi, Morgan.
Hey, Jeff, so call it a new era of human space flight, one centered on spaceport. Two big leaps announced just today as Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic unveiled its new spaceship. And this spaceship,
Did you go to space?
partnered with Elon Musk's SpaceX, unveiled its all-civilian crew.
Virgin Galactic is
Ain't got no reason to.
rolling out VSS Imagine. This is the first of its next generation.
Yeah, if life was about to go away from over here, I get on up there then.
Per year,
What are you doing?
Virgin Galactic is going to own our part of space. We are incredibly focused on taking individuals up, giving them this glorious perspective back. We're very confident in what we're going to do in space, but we are cheering everybody on. We love the
Now, speaking of SpaceX,
Oh, I got me a mess.
today that science educator and an aerospace worker will fill the last two seats on that all-civilian mission with SpaceX. Funded by billionaire Jeff Isaacman, who will also be the flight's commander. Thousands
Got me some money.
Professor Syed Proctor, Lockheed Martin employee, Kristen Bradley, healthcare worker Haley Arsenault on the mission. This is meant to raise